welcome to my channel. If you are newer here, if you are a OG subscriber of mine, then welcome back. Today I am doing a Sabrina Speaks video. It's been a while, but I do have a little, glass of wine right here, and then I have some Girl Scout cookies because I know this is going to be a very chatty video. For those who are newer to my channel, if you're not familiar with what a Sabrina Speaks video is, it's pretty much me sitting on here and giving you advice on certain things. I used to just have you guys send me an email with your scenario or thing that you needed advice on, but I want to switch it up a little bit, which is kind of why I haven't done one of these in a long time, because I've been trying to brainstorm on how I want to bring it back. I do want to do this a little bit more like a topic basis. So today's topic is going to be all about kind of relationships and the beginning stages, dating, and I also asked you guys to send me any questions or things that you need advice on that you might be afraid to ask somebody like your mom or your parents or your family or your friends. This is a very open space, and it's a very honest open space. Let me just say that. I'm very blunt, if you will. I'm going to keep it real with you guys. But it's also a place where you can be anonymous. I always keep it anonymous. It's not even like a thing where I say your username, your name, anything like that. I always keep it anonymous. So it's a safe space as well. I like the idea of doing these videos on a topic basis because we can talk about a lot of different things, and it's going to keep it very interesting and well-rounded, and it won't just all be about relationships. Some days we'll be talking about college, some days we'll be talking about career, or sometimes we'll be talking about YouTube and how I started or how to get things going, or we'll be talking about women empowerment. So I'm really excited about this. I kind of contemplating, like, do I want to keep it named Sabrina Speaks? Are we still digging that? We came up with that a while ago, but let me know what you guys think. I'm excited to kind of get this rolling again. And like I mentioned, today's topic is relationships. There are a lot of different things that fall under relationships, of course, but for today we're going to keep it a little bit more lighthearted, maybe. I don't know, I haven't read a lot of these, but I think we're going to keep it a little bit more lighthearted and a little bit more on the beginning stages of dating. Okay, let me have some wine before I get started because it's going to be a lot. All of these are coming from my Instagram, by the way. I did a little post on there, and I'm having everyone just send me any questions or anything on that topic. Ooh, there's a lot, and I just posted it not too long ago. And actually the first thing that's on here, which is pretty funny, is how do I feel about dating apps? I've never personally used dating apps. I've never done like online dating or anything like that. I have seen that it's worked out for some people, and I think that's amazing. And I think in this day and age, it might be a little easier to do that, especially because a lot of people nowadays are more so entrepreneurs, at least more than before. I think it's a very cool option. Be careful for sure on anything, like not even just dating apps, social media in general. Just be careful about meeting up with people alone. Always make sure that you're going on dates if you're meeting for the first time, and not even just for the first time, in general. If you're not comfortable with a person or you don't know them fully, just always be careful. Go to a very open place in public. Don't disclose like where you live, but I don't think it's a bad idea. To be honest, would it be my number one choice? No, I would rather try to go out socially and meet somebody in person. That way I can get a really good like first impression face to face. That's just me though. Have you ever had friends with benefits? Me personally, I have not. I kind of have talked about this before. I'm the type of person that if I'm going to date, I want it to be a very progressive, ongoing thing. I'm not really the type to date just for fun or one night stand. Like I say, I like to date with purpose and not just, a lo menso, I guess you can say, which there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that this is the type of person that I am. We're either going to be dating so that it leads to something eventually, or we're not like we're not doing it. I'm a shy person, but I can also be very blunt and honest about a lot of different things. And that's one thing I'm always very open about. I like to let the other person know, like, hey, if this is something that you're gonna see as a one night stand, or if, you know, you don't see us going anywhere in the future, it doesn't have to be, you know, super soon or like anything like that. But if you don't see something happening here, besides, you know, hey, what are you doing? Oh, hey, I'm at work. Oh, that's cool. Okay, I'll talk to you later. And then like not talk for a while, and then the next day, hey, like, no, that is so boring to me. So if you don't see something happening here, then we ain't doing it. Like, because one thing I'm not gonna sit around and do is wonder, you know, what are we? We've been talking for this long. We ain't gone nowhere. Like, that's one thing I do not have patience for. There are a lot of things I don't have patience for, let's be honest. That's definitely one thing when it comes to dating and things like that. How do you start the next step conversation? This is a good question. Again, like I mentioned, I can be a pretty blunt person. So for me, no, I'm not gonna lie. It's hard for me to kind of bring up that next step, like, okay, so, you know, it can be a lot. First off, you want to sit down and kind of think about it, like, okay, what is it that I want to say? What's the point I'm trying to get across? And you don't want to jump around in circles about the topic. So let's say you're dating and you want to move on to having the girlfriend title. Of course, you want to analyze, okay, how long have we been talking? And you want to read the other person. You want to read the other person's body language, things that they say about you, how they feel about you, what they show you, all of that before jumping to it. Sometimes you just gotta say it. I mean, if you have an understanding partner, of course, it feels good to be able to talk about those things and be open about, like, okay, what should the next step be? And I think it's way important to do in a relationship. How long does the struggle phase last / how to get through it? And in little parentheses, she put phase after the honeymoon. So she's meaning the struggle phase, which is, like, I guess, a phase that a lot of couples go through after you've already been through that, like, lovey-dovey honeymoon stage. I wouldn't say there's a time frame for that. I think that varies couple to couple. A lot of people go through that where, you know, everything is fine. The beginning stages are, it's like fun and we're doing all these things, and then it kind of slows down and like real life hits, and it's like, okay, we've been together for a while now. Let's do this for real. You're going to get what you put into it when it comes to that. If you are sitting there every day and you're just like, oh my goodness, like we're not happy, we're not how we were in the beginning, and you're constantly dwelling on that, that's how it's gonna be. You have to not put yourself in that mindset. I think that's the true test on how a relationship. How do you find the balance between showing interest but not too much? Because you don't want to seem encimosa. You don't want to seem like you're like clingy or you're doing too much. But you want to let them know you're interested and that you're there, but you don't want them to like run off to somebody else. Like, I get what you're talking about. I mean, this is where flirting plays a role. Like, you keep it interesting, you talk to them here and there, you show interest and all of that. But of course, if you are like the first one to text them every single morning, if you are always the one planning on going on the dates, I would maybe try to back off a little bit and see what they do and see if they show as much interest. Just throw in a little like, I miss you, or I'm thinking of you, or send a little picture here and there. Little things like that. I think you find a good balance. You don't want to be like too, what are you doing? Because then that's gonna kind of like, it's kind of like a little turn off, not gonna lie. But I'm super introverted and dating is a nightmare. How can I get myself out there? A good way to get yourself out there, if you're not necessarily ready to do it all on your own, is take your friends with you. Take your girlfriends, take your cousins, take whoever kind of puts you at ease and makes you loosen up. Sometimes you're gonna have to force yourself. Like, If you've gone out and you met somebody while you were with your friends or with your cousins or whatever, and they ask you to go out on a second date, you're not going to take your friends and your cousins with you. Like, you gotta, at one point, you gotta do it on your own. Try not to say no. Like, be open to it. You're not gonna get anywhere if you don't go out there and be social. You have no idea the type of person you can find just by going out there and trying. I have somebody on here that has some advice for anybody who is in the beginning stages of dating. And it says, don't allow a man to get comfortable with disrespecting you. You set the precedent. And that is very real. And that is, ooh, yes. Those little backhanded jokes that is like, they're low-key not joking about. And you let that go on and on and on. Or you let them disrespect you in any type of way. And you don't take control of it in the beginning stages. It's going to get to a point where you cannot go back unless you leave the relationship. Should you make the first move on the actual first date? What are we talking about when it comes to first move? What kind of move are we talking? But anyone can make the first move. If you feel like you're ready to make that first move and the other person is showing a lot of interest and that they're down for it or whatever, why not? The other person might like that. The other person might like the initiative coming from their partner. So I don't see why not. Either person can make the first move. Of course, you want to make sure first, like, that the other person is okay with that. Dating a man with kids and dealing with a baby mama. I have to be honest with this one. I don't think that's something that I would be able to do. It's a lot to, like, think about. It's a lot. It's not for everybody. And I think it's very, again, situational, just depending on if you feel like you would be open to that. And I think it also depends on the type of relationship that your significant other has with their, like, baby mama or whatever. If it's like all types of drama, like, some people make it work. Like, some people are like, even some couples or some ex-couples that have kids are honestly just in it for the kids, and they don't have any type of weird communication. There's nothing awkward going on there. They just cut it off, and they're like, it is what it is. We both are going to move on, and we just have to, keep the communication because of our kids, and that's it. It is what it is. But there are some situations where it is like drama and all of that stuff. That is also something that, you would want to know from the jump. I'm in an interracial relationship, and it's so annoying that people are always staring. What do I do? You don't do anything. You can't. You don't do anything. It is going to happen. It's inevitable. It's annoying. Trust me, I totally get where you're coming from. And it could be for other reasons too. But most of the time, if you're in an interracial relationship, most of the time you can tell, like, why people are staring. Let's be very real with that. But there's nothing you can do. Like, unless somebody is saying something to you directly that is rude, or doing something to you directly that is rude, then obviously you can take steps, whatever kind of steps you want to take towards that. People stare regardless, and people are going to talk regardless, and I'm just kind of like, most of the time, the random people that you see in the streets that are staring at you, you're not going to see them ever again in your life. So there's, like, no point in even wasting your energy. This next one, I'm not going to read it word for word because it would kind of expose who it is, but I'm just going to read it. So it says, I recently ended a relationship with a man. It was a bad ending, and I'm trying to heal every day. Seeing you with your boyfriend gives me hope for what's out there. Any advice on moving on? For some people, it can take a lot of time. And I also mentioned this in one of my other videos. I think it was a life update video, that it also really depends on what happened in your last relationship. For some people, it was a hard ending, and it's something that's hard to get over. But for other people, it could have been a relationship that has been going bad for a while and it hasn't been the same and it was on and off, and you were unhappy for a really long time, and then when you cut it off, you're kind of just ready to, like, okay, I'm ready to date, or I'm ready to move on. You just don't know. You just don't know what that person had gone through in that relationship, which is why I think it's also super important to never judge somebody for moving on at whatever time they decide to do so, because you were not in that relationship. Do what you feel right here and what you feel in your gut. If you feel like you're ready to date and you feel like you're ready to move on, you're going to feel happy to do so. You're going to want to go out and meet new people and date, and you're going to get excited to get yourself ready to go on a girls' night and possibly meet somebody. You're going to feel that. You're going to feel it. Trust me, you're going to feel it. If you feel like you want to just be at home and you aren't ready, you want to focus on yourself, go to work, hustle, grind it out, and you're good, you will know. Like, you will know and you will feel that. And if you, let's say you are in that shell, or not even in that shell, because just because you're to yourself doesn't mean you're in a shell. It's just what you want to do. But if you are in that situation where you're kind of like, oh, I want to, just be on my own, figure myself out, date myself, work, hustle, get my money up, all of that stuff, and you do try to go out on a date and it feels forced, there's your answer. Maybe you should take a little step back and kind of think to yourself, like, okay, maybe I'm not ready. But it is one thing, let me tell you, it's one thing to actually not be ready and you'll know it, but it's one thing to lie to yourself and know, like, okay, you feel like lonely, or you feel like you want to date or find somebody, but then you're trying to act like, that's not what I want to do. You also don't want to sit there and lie to yourself, because it's going to end up screwing you up mentally. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be independent and get your stuff together and focus on yourself, but also want to date at the same time. Just because you're independent or just because you want to be like full on independent or do your own thing, doesn't mean that you can't find somebody to fit that. On the other side of that, I also want to mention that there's nothing wrong with not dating. There's nothing wrong with being single. There's nothing wrong with being to yourself. Don't feel like you have to find somebody just because of the pressure of everybody else making you feel like you have to. You can have it all and be on your own as well. But you have to want that, whatever it is. If you want to be on your own and doing your own thing and grinding it out, you have to want that. It's almost like you can't really be like, oh, I want it, but I don't, but I want it, but I don't. Because then time's going to go on and you're going to be like, okay, like, what am I doing with my life? So either one is fine. It's really up to you. I would love to live with my boyfriend, but I'm scared that things will change in a bad way. Moving in together doesn't mean it's gonna be a bad thing. And I keep saying this, but it is what you make it. For me and for us and our relationship, moving in together made us realize different things and learn different things from one another that we wouldn't have figured out if we didn't live together. And we worked through those things, whether they're good, whether they're bad. And not everything is going to be perfect. Moving in together is not the same as living apart. You're going to experience those ups and downs. But if you are constantly honed in and focused on the bad and the bad and the bad and the bad, and they didn't do this, they didn't do that, and all of that, that is where you are going to lead your relationship for real. So you have to know, like, yeah, not everything is going to be peaches and cream, not everything's going to be cute and like it was before, but that's how relationships go. You have to learn, you have to grow, you have to move forward, and it's not going to be easy. Like, it's not. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that me and Darius have never had talks about certain things when it comes to us living together, or things that we've learned with one another since living here. Like, of course we've had those talks. Of course we've had those moments where we've had to talk through things and figure things out. I also don't want to sit here and say if you move in together and something happens, like one of you guys cheats, that you're supposed to stay in it. Like, I'm not saying that either, because girl, let me tell you, that's not what I'm saying. There are minor things that you can work through for sure in relationships. You both are going to get what you put into it. That's all I have to say. Let me change the battery on my camera because it's flashing red on me. Another piece of advice from one of our fellow peeps is don't ignore red flags in the beginning. There's plenty of fish, don't brush it off. I don't even think I need to say anything because I think that she said it all. Can a serious relationship evolve from just being friends with benefits? I think so. Especially if you are friends with benefits and you're exclusively only talking to that person and they're exclusively only talking to you. I don't see why not. Why that wouldn't be able to evolve into a real relationship. Oh my goodness. What if you still remember your ex when you start talking to a new guy? You probably shouldn't be dating. You really probably should not be dating. Like, I feel bad for whoever that guy is, because I get it. I get that sometimes it's inevitable. It might be still fresh, but you're trying to like move forward or whatever. But like, you're doing the other person a disfavor, like in yourself. I think you should reevaluate that and kind of take a step back. In my opinion, put yourself in their shoes. Put yourself in that guy's shoes. Like, if they were thinking about their ex, like, how would you feel if they were dating you and you found like, or they were honest with you and told you, you know what, I can't stop thinking about my ex. Like, what would you do? Wouldn't you feel like kind of weird and awkward and like, okay, yeah, I think you probably would. So that's what I think about that. Have you ever had to deal with your significant other's parents not being accepting of you? No. I've never experienced that, so I can't really like touch on that. But me personally, I have not had to deal with that. Look at me. I'm just kidding. I'm totally joking. No, but seriously, I haven't ever experienced that. How many dates should you have before having sex? How long is too long? I am not one to tell you how many dates you should go on before having sex. Some people will say if they feel that connection, they feel that connection. Some people will say they want to wait until they are official. Some people will say they want to wait until they're married. I do think it's good to wait. There are, of course, I know there are probably people out there who have had sex on the first date and are like happily together, married, etc. For me, I think it's good to go on a few dates and really get to know the person and who they are and what they're about. Maybe meet the family, or maybe you don't have to meet the family yet, honestly. But that's just me. I can't go out with somebody and be like, boom, let's do it. Maybe with one person you're like, you know what, I want to wait until I'm married, and then maybe it doesn't end up working out for whatever reason and you move on. And maybe with that next person you're like, you know what, I don't want to wait until I'm married. Maybe a few dates in, I'll give it a shot. Like, you can change your mind. You're allowed to do that. You're a human being. That is also very normal. Also, I think it's very important to not feel pressured to have to do it, because that's a huge turnoff. That is a huge, huge turnoff. And if I were to feel pressured to do something like that, it would be an automatic, like, right, I'm out of here. Thoughts on dating after a baby, more specifically this person's situation, again keeping it anonymous. I think, first of all, kudos to anybody who has a baby and is no longer with their partner for whatever reason, and they're holding it down regardless. Like, kudos to you. So much props. I know, again, from people that I personally know, I know how tough it can be to date when you have kids. There are a lot of things on this topic. There are a lot of topics I feel like I can't touch on because I haven't experienced it, but I can at least give you, what I think based on the people around me and what they've experienced. So in this case, like, I know a lot of people who are or were single and have kids, and it can be really hard to, of course, balance that mom life and balance that work life if you do work or have a 9 to 5. Even if you're a stay-at-home mom, finding that time to go out and socialize and date and find somebody, it can be a lot, especially if you have a baby, like a baby, because they already require a lot of your attention. But I definitely think that whenever you're ready to date, do it. If you feel like you want a partner there with you to help you and to make you feel good and be there for your baby, I don't see anything wrong with that, regardless of the situation. I think there are a lot of people out there that probably don't mind that. They don't mind that, you know, you have a baby. It's good to let them know about the situation. If you don't really talk to the baby's father, like, you know, hey, we hardly talk, this is what's going down, and that might put some things at ease for that person. I know that can be really tough, because for some people that might be the like do or die moment where they're kind of like, okay, like I don't think this is something that I would want. Of course, you would have to be understanding of that, but it's good to know that you were honest and that you were open about that. I do want to say there's nothing wrong with dating and having a baby if you know that other person, your baby's father, is no longer in the picture. Go out and have fun. I think what happens a lot too when it comes to being a mom is that if you have a baby and you're out and you're trying to date and enjoy yourself, it's almost looked down upon. Or looked down on, not down upon. It's almost looked down on by other moms or by society and other people. I don't see anything wrong with that. You're not neglecting your child. You know, you can leave your child with your mom or with, you know, the sitter or whoever for a few hours to try to go out and socialize and mingle and be yourself and be the person that you were, that you are prior and with your baby. Like, there's nothing wrong with doing that. I know mom shaming is like a real thing. So I just have to say, like, being somebody from the outside in, somebody who isn't a mom yet, it's okay. Like, people, like, I don't see that as a bad thing. Me not having kids, like, I don't see that as a bad thing. And I don't see why it's such a big deal to other people. If they're providing for their baby is safe and their baby is in safe hands. Like, I don't, like, it's not like an all day, everyday thing. I'm sure it's like, it's going to be okay. And if you are going to date and you have a baby and you feel like you're ready to do that, this kind of goes along with some of the other questions, is you need to make sure that you are mentally ready to do so and be ready to move on and move forward fully. Over time, is it normal for couples to not have sex at all? Ooh. And is it important to have it in a relationship? I think it's important to have it in a relationship, for sure. And I think a lot of men and women would agree to that as well. It's not do or die, but I think it's something special when you feel physically connected to your partner in that way. There are a lot of things that we would need to factor in for that. One thing is love languages, okay? With one another, you might be more inclined to have sex or get physical with one another, or get touchy, or all of those things if your love languages and your needs are being met. To me, I think it's important. I do think it's important to have that physical connection with your partner, no matter how long you've been together, because not saying that sex is everything in a relationship, but it can kind of get like you want to keep it fun, you want to keep it like interesting, you want to keep it going, if both of you guys are just kind of like, you know what, like I don't mind not doing it anymore, then I guess. I think most of the time this happens to like one person or the other. Is it that that's just how you feel, or is there an underlying reason as to why you feel that way? Sex can be a make or break in relationships, and slowly lowering the amount isn't like necessary. I think that's common actually, but to completely stop and just be like, you know what, like I don't want to do this anymore, to some people that might be kind of like, whoa, like am I something wrong with me? Why are you not like attracted to me? It can lead to a lot of things that aren't fun. And what I mean by that is, for example, cheating. And there is no valid reason, none, zero, nada. Don't even try it. No valid reason for anybody to cheat. None. In my opinion, there is no, like, doesn't matter. You have to be a grown person and talk about things before you like reach that, and be grown enough to walk away from situations. Like, that's what being a grown up is. So with that being said, I'm not saying that there's any valid reason for that, because there isn't. Like, there's just not. But it can that's what I'm saying, is that like little things like that can lead to somebody, like if somebody's not feeling like their partner's into them or whatever, it can kind of lead to like, okay, well, finding somebody that will. That's not okay. But I'm just saying, it's like it literally happened. There's no excuse for it. I'm just stating what happens. So before that though, you have to have that talk, be open and honest about that, and see how much of a toll that would take on your relationship if you decided that it's something that you didn't want to do. Talking about exes with your partner and how to not have that comparison mindset. Don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. No, but Jesus, it takes a lot of self-control. It takes a lot of self-control, but what you don't want to do is be like, you're just like my ex, or, well, my ex used to do this and you don't do that. Like, nobody wants to hear that. I promise you. Like, nobody wants to hear that. No one's gonna feel good after hearing something like that. That's not good. That's pretty toxic, to be honest. It's one thing to think about it, but it's another thing to literally compare the other person. Let's say you're talking to your boyfriend and saying, I feel like we don't really communicate, and when it comes to certain things, like, we're not on the same page. And me, I'm used to having that open communication with my partner and being open and sharing my thoughts and sharing how my day went and sharing this and sharing that, and it's very important to me. I think that's healthy, that's normal, right? But if you're sitting there and you're like, well, my ex would always come home and tell me how his day went, why aren't you telling me? That's two totally different vibes. Totally different vibes. And it's also different depending on how often you're bringing it up. Like, if you're constantly like, if you're nice about it, but you're constantly bringing it up, that doesn't make it okay either. So yeah, just be like, if you don't want them to compare you to their ex constantly or in certain ways, don't do it to them. Like, just don't. Or just avoid it altogether. If it's better that way, if it's gonna piss you off regardless of how nice they say it, just don't even do it. It's not worth it. Okay, now moving on to things you're afraid to ask but want to know. Like, things you're afraid to ask your parents, family, etc. Do you think a man should be the provider? I think in relationships, balance is everything. And let's say you're the woman in the relationship and you are the provider. There are a lot of things that can factor in what a balanced relationship would look like in that situation. Do I think that men have to be the providers? Absolutely not. But I think it's good for them to provide in some way or another. Let's say you're at work most of the time, and maybe their job doesn't require them to be at work as intensely as yours does, but they're at home more often, then, they can kind of do things at home as well. And I think it's good to also allow that other person to do some of those things, which I think is something that, like, for me, I'm a very independent type of person. Like, I can do things on my own, and I know how to do things on my own and all of that stuff. But one thing in relationships that you have to learn is to let that other person in. Even if you can do it all on your own, if you're an independent woman and you can provide for yourself and you don't need no man, like, I get it. I totally get that I get it. But and you're in a relationship. This takes two. So you have to let that person in. You have to let them provide for you in some way or another. Make them feel needed. Like, nobody in a relationship wants to feel like they are not needed. Even if you are the provider, so, like, financially, there are so many other things that can be factored into a relationship. So, no, I don't think the man needs to be the provider. I think it's nice. Either way, I think it's nice if you guys go half and half. Either way is fine. Find that balance in other things besides finances and stuff like that. When you're in your mid-20s and have no dating experience / never been kissed, how and when do you break it to the potential dates? First dates usually end with a kiss, but being inexperienced, I probably wouldn't want to, but also don't want them to know how inexperienced I am. They don't have to know that. And some people might think that that's nice, that it's nice that they're the first person, that you are kissing and things like that. But if you don't feel comfortable with sharing that, you don't have to share that. You can just kind of go with the flow and see what happens. I mean, I don't see why that would be like a turn off. If anything, they should be wanting to lead you and wanting to show you the way. Okay, here is one, and I want to make this an entire video. How can I be less independent in the sense of letting a man open my door or picking up my plate? And I actually love this question because I am somebody I'm very independent. I think from my past experiences, things I've been through, past relationships, etc. And just my life in general, I've always been taught by my mom and other women in my life and other people, just family members in general, to know what you're doing and know that you can do things for yourself because you never know. Now, with that being said, let them open the door for you. That's something that is very rare, and it's appreciated when it does happen so much. I think it is so, let them do it. I know being independent, it can sometimes, you want to be like, oh, you don't have to open the door for me, it's fine. Let the man do it. Let them pick up your plate and put it, in the sink for you, or let them do those things. It feels good, especially if you're independent and you've been independent for such a long time. It's a good feeling, but it's also a good feeling to feel loved by somebody and to feel that genuine, them wanting to help you out and be there for you in one way or another. Let them in. Trust me, there's no better feeling. For me, I'm independent, but Darius always opens the door for me when we're walking in and out. He will open the car door for me. And those are things that although I'm an independent woman, I thank him for those things and I let him do those things because it's important to feel and be needed when you're dating or when you're in a relationship. And I can't stress this enough. It's not bad to be an independent woman, and it's not bad to want to do things on your own, but you are dating, you are in a relationship. Let them open the car door for you. Let them pick up your plate. Let them pay for that check. Those are things sure, yes, he knows. When you're independent, a lot of the times the man, you make it very known, and they know that, yes, you can do it for yourself, but they want to do it for you sometimes, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And can a single mom have a friend with benefits? Asking for a friend. I think anybody can have a friend with benefits. I don't think there's I mean, your dating life is your dating life. Like, if you're a single mom or if you don't have kids or if whatever it is, like, live your life. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't go out and date and have friends with benefits just because you're a single mom. Like, we're in 2020. Like, don't let that get to you for sure. Should you disclose that you've been cheated on in past relationships? I can see why there's hesitation there, because you don't want to express that to somebody and then think that, oh, well, she's been cheated on before, so it's okay if I do it. Of course, you don't want to open that door. You also, like, I don't know, it can make you feel like if you are open about that maybe they'll think it's okay to do it to you because you've already experienced it, which is such a messed up way to think. But yeah, I can totally understand where you're coming from in that aspect. But I think I think you should be able to be open and honest with your partner about something like that and not think to yourself that they would do something like that to you. And if that does happen, if you're open about that and for whatever reason you find yourself in that situation again with the person you expressed this to, is that making sense? Basically what I'm trying to say is, if you tell somebody that you've been cheated on and then they go on and do it to you, that is the ultimate slap in the face for sure. And it's not a reflection of the type of person you are. That's 100% a reflection of the type of person that they are. Because if they can sit there and listen to you speak, listen to you cry, and talk about something you experience, a horrible experience from your past, and if they can sit there and do that to you after seeing you and how you felt talking about it, they are not okay. Like, they are not okay, and that has nothing to do with you. And I would feel extremely bad for the next person that they go on a date, because they literally have zero empathy and they give no F's, like, literally. And it's not fair that you feel like you have to shut yourself off for that and not share that part of what you experienced. But I know exactly what you're talking about, and you definitely are not alone. And I can 100% see why you would be hesitant on sharing with somebody that you're dating that you've been cheated on. I do think it's important to talk to your partner, though, even if you aren't ready to tell them that you personally have experienced it. I think it's important to talk about cheating in general and what is considered cheating to the person that you are dating and what is considered cheating to you, so you can be on the same page in regards to all of that. Because to somebody texting another person, they might think that's not, like, I'm not doing anything physically, so why is that cheating? And you might not be okay with that. And that's something that I think is a conversation that needs to be made. But if you don't want to tell them, you know what, I've been cheated on before, you don't have to. That's really up to you. All right, I think I'm going to end it off there. I already know this video is very long, but I think we talked about some pretty good things, especially for this being the first video in a while, the first Sabrina Speaks video in a while that I've done. So let me know how you're feeling the whole topic thing. I really want to know your feedback on that. If you think it's a good idea to kind of do topics at a time to keep it nice and different and spicy and all of that stuff, so we can cover a lot of ground and a lot of different girl talk topics like this. Also, any topics, ideas, things you'd like for me to talk about in upcoming Sabrina Speaks videos, please feel free to leave it in the comments section. Or if you want to, keep it on the low, you can always DM me on my Instagram as well. I try to go through them as much as I possibly can as they come in. It's a lot sometimes, but I definitely do try to respond to as many people as I can. So you can always drop me a DM and I will try my best to include it in one of my upcoming Sabrina Speaks videos. And even though I did talk about, this part of relationships and dating, I know not everybody got to send in questions and advice and things like that on this topic, especially if you're just now landing on my channel for the first time. But I will do more videos on this topic as well, or kind of chime in certain things in other videos as well. This won't be like the first and last video that I talk about dating and beginning stages. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know your feedback, thoughts, anything like that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for everybody who sent in their questions, tips, things like that. I appreciate you guys so much. And yeah, I love you guys. Les quiero mucho, and I'll see you all in my next video.